Venturing outward on an expedition to the icy, radioactive wasteland, we are the survivors of the social justice zombie apocalypse. The few, the brave, the britchy, attempting to find signs of intelligent life somewhere. With Rantzerker 73, Laci's problematic, Trumpomatic. Oh boy.
We are pretty britchy. We're brave in our britches. That's where our bravery lives.
I knew I wasn't going to get away with that one. Someone would call it out.
Yeah.
All right.
It's all right.
It's all right? Okay, well.
It sort of works. We're brave in our britches.
Yeah. in our britchy regions. I guess it's something like the cockles.
Subcockle region.
The subcockle. What exactly does the cockles? Apparently it's some sort of structure in a mollusk. And it sort of looks like a heart.
Maybe it's like a giblet.
Yeah, it's one of those words that just sort of sounds cool. So we use it.
No, and it's like those words for body parts that you think should be dirty body parts, like nasty, perverted body parts, but they aren't, like coccyx and uvula. Right? Yeah.
They sound more perverted than they actually are. And this is someone who is more perverted than she actually sounds. And by perverted, I don't mean sexually perverted. I just mean
she's got problems.
Yeah.
She's very sad. And I feel like, well,
you feel like it would be a good idea to take her down to do dungeon, strap her to a table, and teach her how to think properly.
Well,
use of appropriate force, reasonable and appropriate force, and sweetening the deal with some with pleasure, but reasonable, appropriate force, and the carrot of occasional pleasure when she is logically coherent.
No. I actually think she could just use a cuddle and someone to sit and, like, I don't know, watch some Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants movie with her, something to get her, spirits up, and then have a real heart-to-heart talk with her, and let her know that she's a moron. But,
Okay, so you're going the cuddle and Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants route. I'm going the rape dungeon.
Yeah. I know, it's completely backwards from...
Yeah, I would say it is.
The way it would usually, one would expect it to be.
Yeah, I would say so. I don't know, for some reason when I look at her face, I just think rape dungeon. But it wouldn't be a rape dungeon because I'm a woman and we can't rape. So there you go. All right, let's
running plan. Okay, let's get started.
Let's get started with this. I don't want to miss any second of this. Boy, she actually looks really good in this video.
That's because she's sad.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, maybe. Oh, you're right. Maybe that's my thing. Sad.
No, I think it's because it's an expression that she very rarely wears. This kind of melancholy.
Yeah. She melancholy and thoughtful. She immediately ruins it, though.
Well, you can tell with her smile later on that she's really trying to not burst into tears. And
it just looks like a duping delight. It looks smug and self-righteous to me, but whatever. I finally understand. I have this sympathy with the people who are conflicted by the desire to want to do something salacious with this creature and also slap her for her logic. It's very conflicting.
There you go.
I'm conflicted.
Okay.
Anybody can interpret what I fucking just said. I apologize. I use big words. That's because I can't pronounce small ones for whatever reason. Okay, let's begin.
Okay, don't be such a britch.
I will be britchy. You can't tell me what to be. I will be fucking britchy.
I'm sorry, we're never going to get started if we keep this up. Okay.
I'm going to bring the britchiness.
We already heard the big, heavy sigh.
Oh my God, Laci.
She opened with the big... I'm actually kind of shocked that she didn't open with just saying, deep sigh. Well,
it goes with the
deep, the sigh.
Deep cleavage here. Look at that. Okay, continue.
She's always got...
Well, she's always making sure to frame it. All right.
It happened, didn't it?
Oh, is this loud enough for everyone?
You could turn it up a little bit.
Okay, let me just... All right.
It's not a nightmare that I'm in. It really happened. I have some feels to get off of my chest. I need
Whoa. Yes, you do, Laci. Some incredibly large
to
feels.
put it somewhere. So
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, those are some large feels you have.
Honestly, but this is like I can see being disappointed. I really can, right? I mean, honestly, here I am in Canada. The NDP won in Alberta in a landslide last election, and the Liberals, with Trudeau as their little freaking mascot, won.
He is such a mascot.
And I don't. Those are the opposite of what I would have chosen. I would have chosen the provincial Liberals, and I would have chosen the federal Conservatives. But you just have to suck it up and get on with it. It's like, okay, you didn't get your pick this time. And my sister put it to me this way, because she's very kind of, she liked Bernie Sanders. She's very kind of the opposite of pretty much the rest of my family, who are extremely fiscally conservative and the whole bit, right? And so she really liked Bernie. She's always felt like she's the sort of the black sheep, the outsider, right? And she was just like, people are angry that the NDP got in Alberta. How do you think I've felt for the last, 30 years? 30 freaking years of me being interested in politics and never having the party that shares my values be in power, right? So I think, honestly, you really sort of you can be disappointed, but you have to put it in perspective, right? Angry the NDP are in. I'm not angry the Liberals are in the federal government. I'm not angry about any of that. I just, let's just keep an eye on them, hold their feet to the fire, and wait until the next time and do better the next time. That's how you do it as an adult. So.
Yeah, and I mean, you're right. Trudeau is a freaking mascot.
He's kind of a bit of an airhead. He's kind of a bit of an airhead, and and that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that I think that every single decision, and he's under fire from the opposition right now, because he's looking into buying a sort of a fleet and a half, or not a fleet, a squadron and a half of new fighter jets to replace our CF-18s. And that's going to be a lot of money, but that's a position that kind of was created by the last federal government. There is a big vacuum in our military capabilities in terms of our Air Force, and we need to do something about that. And so he's kind of stuck dealing with the mess, right? And the only way to deal with it is, there's only so much duct tape and bubble gum you can put on planes that are 40 years old. Sometimes you actually just have to buy new planes. So, and we've owned them since the early 80s, I believe. So here we go, right? And the opposition's going to criticize him, and I'm just like, well, fucking lay off, because what else is he supposed to do, right?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that I think that his opposition when he was running was right. He's just not really ready for it. But whatever. They say the same thing about Trump.
He doesn't have he
doesn't have much gravitas. I think he could do a lot more positive good by doing some a series of gonzo porn with Laci. With elbows, elbow.
You're in a mood today. Holy shit.
Yeah, I am. I am in a fucking mood. I'm just saying he could be doing wrestling moves with the elbow right to those double D's, and then do the finishing move. I think that would be a way that these two people could bring a lot of joy to the rest of the world. I'm only just putting it out there and hoping it comes back to me at some point.
Who knows?
I mean, they're attractive, you got to give them that. Mm-hmm. They're completely vacuous and airheaded, and maybe we should sterilize them before we let them breed, but it's an attract.
Uh-oh. Are you still there?
electioned out, which I totally understand, just a heads up, you can bounce. My sweet sex posy babes.
Are you there, Allison?
I was having an issue with my microphone.
Oh,
Jesus.
all right.
Okay, did you guys actually hear Laci?
I heard just my sweet sex posy babe. She's letting people know that they can bounce.
Oh yeah, this is ridiculous. Like seriously, you have to have a fucking trigger warning for politics. You think politics is going to disappear if you're not looking at it?
No, I argue. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. I arguably said that in my last video about Trump. You know, okay, yes, I'm making another video about Trump. I know some of you might be fatigued from the election. Feel free to click the little X thing if you just are tired of hearing about Trump and the election.
Did you hear my whole spiel about Trump, Laci, Gonzo porn?
No, it was Trudeau, Laci, Gonzo porn.
Trudeau, okay, well, Trump works too. But Trudeau, Laci, Gonzo porn. I mean, Trudeau, Laci would be more attractive, but as you know, in a general thing. But you heard that, right?
It should be Trump, Bernie.
Trump, Bernie. Okay, well, I think we've plumbed the depths of that.
Like I wrote.
But I also got out the whole elbow slam to the boobs with Laci, you know, as the move, and then the finishing. Okay, good. That's good.
Yeah, I heard that. So
okay, all right. I just need to know where I need to start from. I'm not just revisiting the fantasy. I need to know where we need to start from. Just saying. Just making sure that we're both on the same page. All right, let's continue.
Okay.
There's no purient interest in all of this at all. Okay.
I need to put it somewhere.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
So if you're all electioned out, which I totally understand, just a heads up, you can bounce. My sweet.
Can we bounce? Can we? Could you bounce? Could you use some bouncing?
That's just an edgy young way of saying you can get the fuck out.
Because triggers, right? Yeah, I know.
Or whatever. It's all right.
We can't take it literally. All right.
No, it's just young lingo. We're old.
Yeah, so. We're old and grumpy badgers, but
not hip.
I think that
babes.
Okay, the sex posy shit. I don't think you really are, honestly. But let's continue.
The Trumpocalypse has arrived. Y'all know me well enough. I value equality. I think it's so important. Inclusion, human dignity, avoiding World War III.
What?
I know. It's like, see, this is really the thing, okay? So you go and you look at Trump's, the companies that he owns, right? And the number of female executives that he has working for him. You know, at the top level, in the C-suite, all of that. And you find that it's any comparably sized American company is going to be about as good or not as good as, you know, him in terms of hiring competent women and keeping them hired in the C-suite, right? He doesn't seem to have a problem with women being promoted to the highest levels of corporate success, right? He has a problem with Rosie O'Donnell, a long-standing feud with Rosie O'Donnell, wherein he called her a fat, disgusting pig, right? And then all of a sudden, this is a sign that he hates all women and he disrespects all women. And then he called Clinton in the debate. He called her he said, this is a nasty, nasty woman instead of a nasty, nasty person. And that just sealed it in all these people's minds that he's like a hardcore misogynist. He hates all women. He thinks all women are nasty. All women are fat, disgusting pigs, except for the good-looking ones who he's bragging about. You know, I just start kissing them. You know, I don't even say hello. I just grab them and start kissing them, and then, you know, followed by 10 minutes of video footage of him not doing that, right? somehow he has this huge reputation for hating all women. And, you know, and it's like, okay, right. He has this huge reputation for hating blacks when he went out of his way to black people in America, managed to get more of their votes, a higher percentage of their votes than Romney or McCain. Same with Hispanics. Apparently hates all Mexicans, and he wants to engage in a program of ethnic cleansing. That, yes, those words came out of a mouth for Esquire magazine. He's engaging in a program of ethnic cleansing, right? When in reality, Obama's been deporting illegal immigrants all through his tenure as president. Canada deports illegal immigrants all the time, right? But somehow when Trump does it, right, it's ethnic cleansing, right? Oh my God, I just realized Canada is engaged in a program of ethnic cleansing and white nationalism, right? You know, this all of this has just been so ginned up in the media. All of these ideas about him. Yeah, he's not the perfect guy. Yeah, he's got a loud mouth. Yeah, he's got a filter that he doesn't always freaking have turned on when he talks, right? And his comedic timing sucks. Okay, but I just don't think that I don't think that he's going to ethnically cleanse America. I don't think he's going to start World War III, right? Even if he wanted to, it's not like the Joint Chiefs of Staff, no matter how fucking right-wing they are, or in his pocket they are, they're not going to let him fucking launch nukes for no good reason. Like, there are so many safeguards when it comes to certain things. Oh my God, there's a thing called the Constitution, right? He's come out and said he's leaving same-sex marriage alone. No, Supreme Court decided. I didn't think that it was a matter for the Supreme Court, but they've decided that's done. Not touching it, right? Like, and yet somehow gay marriage is in danger because Trump got in. Like, this is a generated, engineered panic, is what it is, and it's really a crime. It is actually a crime. That there are people, like, she's almost in tears here, right? She's almost in tears here. She is extremely afraid, right, of what's going to happen over the next 4 years to people that she cares about and groups that she cares about, right? And she doesn't even realize that even if Trump was the second coming of the fucking devil, like, or I guess the first coming of the Antichrist, right, to accomplish 95% of what she thinks he wants to do. And what she thinks he wants to do, it doesn't even, it's not even in the same universe as what he has actually said he wants to do.
You gotta mute.
Okay.
You're putting forth so much really important political dialogue. Unfortunately, I spent the entire time just imagining Trudeau face fucking her. I'm just saying.
All right. No, I'm really glad that this is not on my channel. That's all I have to say. That this is not being heard on my channel because I have about 14,000 new subscribers over the last couple of weeks, and some of them think I have a potty mouth.
And somehow, so they're saying that you have a potty mouth?
Yeah, and they're sort of pulling the whole the cowboy in the Big Lebowski. You know, can I ask you something, dude? Why'd you gotta cuss so dang much? And then he's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Seriously.
So, yeah.
Oh, for God's sake. They're tone policing you.
No, but this is a whole different group of people. These are not men's rights people. These are people who stumbled on my Trump videos and now.
No, they're tone policing. Oh, for fuck's sake.
They're going back and listening to a whole bunch of other stuff. And it's like.
And they find that you swear. Okay, well, all right. So I'm now banned from your channel because I really want to see. No, I don't really want to see. It's just happening.
I'm just saying I'm glad that this hangout isn't hosted on my channel.
Okay, I'll be more polite if I come on your channel. I promise. I won't talk about how I think that Laci and Trudeau could give a lot more to the world by just creating a series of gonzo porn that involves a lot of flying elbows.
All right.
To the boob. I won't talk about that. I won't, but I'm just saying that I spent a lot of that just imagining Kim grabbing that fucking face and just going to town on those lips. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying. But I do have to point out, bring it to the political, back to the political. If she's really worried about World War III, why the fuck would she support Clinton?
Yeah, I know. Clinton, who has a hard time getting along with anyone, except for the people who donate to her foundation, and then she gives them, she increases the number of arms sales that she authorizes to their countries. And then they hand those weapons to ISIS, right? So there you go. I just, honestly, World War III is probably not going to emerge from any kind of conflict directly between Russia and America. It's going to the instigation, the spark is going to happen in the Middle East if there is going to be a World War III. And I would really rather have a president who, the moment he got elected, Putin said, I'd really like to reopen a dialogue and reestablish a friendly relationship with the U.S. That's actually what I would prefer.
I'm going to have to mute you for a sec because of the echo issue. But someone said we should aim higher. Trudeau face fucking Emma Watson. Why stop there? Why not Trudeau? Piled. Why not Trudeau like gonzo porn on all of these social justice warriors? I mean, he's got to put his cock to good use. And
he's got all those women. 50% of his cabinet is women, right?
He could really bring about a positive revolution if he starts to get these women off their penis-hating ways. Get a little bit of a warm feelings towards the male gender. He can make up for everything that he's lost everything that he's done bad for that. Although he is getting shit for saying that he'll deal with Trump, right? He'll do deals with Trump because he's a world leader now, and he does actually need to make deals with people.
Yeah. Well, and when you got Trump saying, I want to renegotiate NAFTA, right? In terms of Canada, it's entirely plausible that not much is going to change there, just because the U.S. hasn't been hemorrhaging jobs and money and investment and all of that into Canada, right? Because it's one thing to have a sort of an equal trade deal between two countries who have very similar economies, very similar GDP, very similar rates of pay, right? Standard of living, all of those things, very similar socioeconomics, demographic base where, you have this many who could be argued to be living in poverty or under the poverty line, but it doesn't look anything like Mexican poverty. And then you have this many of your population being considered middle class and this many being, wealthy, right? And on those terms, you're on an equal footing. Even if you're smaller, you're so similar, right, that you're on an equal footing, and neither of you are a threat to the other's economy, really. You can only benefit by going along, right? But when it comes to Mexico and the U.S. and sort of the differences in per capita wealth and all of that stuff, then you end up having extremely cheap labor and companies moving down there and setting up their factories down there, and all kinds of money flooding out of the country and all kinds of people flooding into your country, and it's just a fucking nightmare, right? It doesn't work.
And I want to point out another thing. So essentially what she thinks is going to be, and I don't think she's one of the celebrities who wants to move to Canada, but she thinks that making the immigration policy tighter or enforcing it more in the States is going to be some sort of genocidal holocaust on immigrants. And yet all that they're doing is maybe tightening it up to the point where Canada already has it.
Yeah, no, they would just have. He's suggesting that all they do is just start enforcing the laws that already exist.
So essentially, Canada's level
Yeah,
of
and
immigration policing. So
yeah, and then
you're
on top
going
of
to
that, he wants to get rid of catch and release at the border, right? So that
all of these celebrities want to go to Canada because Trump might implement the same strict immigration policies that Canada already has.
Yep.
Because it's harder to become a Canadian citizen than it is an American citizen. Even if you're an American, even if you speak our language, it's harder to become a Canadian citizen.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, so Laci, Trump is going to bring about Canadian levels of immigration control. And you think that's going to be a fucking Holocaust? I guess we are all white genocidal maniacs up here in Canada.
Yeah, no, that's what I said. I just realized that we're engaged in ethnic cleansing, our own beautiful, polite Canada.
Yeah, and you guys all want to come here to escape it. All right, next 20 seconds.
Okay.
Those things matter to me. And that's why last night was terrifying. I am so sad. And I am so angry. And I know that for many of you, your spirit has been crushed by this whole thing just as much as mine has. So it's not clear.
It wouldn't be. Oh my God. The media has so much to answer for with this. Okay, you would not have a huge population of young people whose spirits have been crushed, right? Who are angry, who are sad, who are devastated, who are terrified. Have that. Maybe they'd be like, yeah, we don't like his policies, right? But they wouldn't, like, there's a difference between having somebody in power that you would prefer not to have in power. You would prefer somebody else, or you think some of their policies suck, right? That, and being told over and over and over again that he's the next Hitler. And if he gets in, life as we know it is coming to an end. Right? And that's what people like her believe, right? And whether you agree with Trump's policies or not, whether you think he's going to be able to do a good job as president or not, okay, do you really think he's going to fuck it up any worse than George W. Bush? Do you really believe that? In your heart of hearts, do you really believe he's going to fuck it up worse, significantly worse than George W. Bush?
He's not going to fuck it up any worse than anyone else. Except,
that's right.
You know, Hillary might have created an all new level of fuck up with the with the World War III shit. That's no going back. No press.
We wouldn't even be able to know what she'd done to fuck it all up because
would be vaporized.
She would have used, well, no, even if we didn't get vaporized, she would have used a private server again because she got away with it once already, and she'd just hide it better. And yes, Bush used one. George W. Bush used one. The entire fucking administration did, right? And because he was part of that as president, he has executive privilege. So they have the server, the National Security Archive, right? Has the server, but they can't even fucking look at it until 2021. They can't even fucking look at it because he has executive privilege until then because he was president. So if she uses a private server as president, like Bush did, then if and when she fucking starts a war with fucking Russia, right, we won't even know how that happened, how that, you know, that decision was made until fucking, you know, 2033 or whatever the fuck, right, when the National Security Archive would be allowed to look at her private server.
And the thing is that the fact that Bush does it doesn't make it okay that Hillary did it.
Well, and it also, it wasn't even discovered that the Republican administration under Bush was actually doing this until 2007 when he was on his way out at the end of his second term, not able to run again, right? It wasn't something that was discovered before he fucking ran for president, right? At which point I can almost guarantee you the media would have been quite they would have made it an issue of trustworthiness when he ran for election, right? They would not have they would not have, well, they didn't give him a free pass, but they would have probably subjected him to at least the amount of scrutiny that Hillary's emails were subjected to, because most of the media would have been against him, right? Because most of the mainstream media leans liberal and he was a Republican. And also because something you can do about it now before he runs, or while he's running before he gets elected.
Let's go to the next 20 seconds.
What exactly the future holds for us yet. But if we go by...
The future holds more of the same. You're going to be fine. Relax. Like,
Yeah.
Do you really think that Trump is going to jump out of your closet and face fuck you? No.
Like, a lot of his stuff is, like, worst possible thing that can happen is essentially the status quo gets maintained, right? Is essentially like he won't change the policies at the border. He won't eject the 3 million or so illegal immigrants, not just from Mexico, but from other countries, Eastern Europe, places like that are engaged in crime on U.S. soil, or that have serious criminal records, like they're guilty of violent felonies and stuff like that, right? Like he won't leave gay marriage, like he'll leave gay marriage alone. Oh my goodness, like some of the people who voted for him are going to be angry about that, I'm sure, right? Roe v. Wade, I guarantee you 99% chance it's never going to be overturned, and it would have to be overturned for him to do anything on the abortion question, right? And he said if it's overturned, it'll go back to the individuals. I won't do anything at all. It'll go back to each state to decide.
Okay, can I just point something out? Trump, Laci, look at him. Look at his actual policies. Trump is a centrist, center-right at best, if not really center, or even moving to the left. He definitely doesn't run on the family values platform. Like, seriously, this is not, I don't even know how they've managed this. They've taken a guy who I would argue, would be comfortably in a similar position as Bill Clinton in terms of his policy. They've taken that and they've turned him into the boogeyman. And that you got women weeping over it. And this guy is not, he's not even a hard right, like Christian conservative. He's like Karen said, he's not going to do anything with gay marriage. At most with abortion, he's going to give it to the states to decide. So it's a constitutionalist position. Like, this guy is not, this is not the Satan you are looking for. And the fact that they've managed to whip these zealots up to this frothing fury over someone who doesn't even advance the moral agenda of the right is like,
and they're calling him a fascist, right? If I were a fascist, the first thing I'd do when I got in office would expand Common Core and make it mandatory, right? Because right now there's only heavy pressure on the states to adopt Common Core, which is it's a federal standard of educational, it's like a standardized education program across the entire U.S. There are pressures that they can put on states. There are incentives that they can give states. Adopt Common Core and you'll get more education funding, right? Things like that. He would make it, the first thing he would do would be to make it mandatory and expand it from just English, math, and science. He would expand it into social studies and things like that. And so that he could get his own Hitler Youth started, right? Indoctrinate the school kids, right? He would get rid of homeschooling. He would say absolutely no way can you have charter schools or anything like that. No, there is one single federal program. Every child will be educated in this way, right? Because that's how fascists maintain power. That's how they get that's how they get a stranglehold on power. Right? And he got elected on promises of, we want more charter schools, we want a voucher system so parents can send their kids to whatever school they want to, not just the shitty school in their neighborhood. We want to get rid of Common Core. We want to support homeschooling and online schooling and all kinds of parental choice for children. in terms of how they do school, right? The exact opposite of what a fascist would do.
Okay, so can I point out, would there be, considering Trump's actual policies and his is very, very centrist, he's very centrist. Would there ever be a Republican candidate that wouldn't cause this wailing and gnashing of teeth?
Yes, there would. There would. I bet you Marco Rubio or who, the media would not have demonized little Marco, or you know, and some of this is Trump's fault in terms of like how he behaved during the primaries. I'm sure, like he was such a loudmouth asshole. He was like super troll. You know, he was such an absolute dick in some of those debates to some of the other candidates during the primaries, right? And that made it really easy for the media to just say, you know, oh yeah, look at the way he behaves. He's the devil.
Okay. Let's unpack those names you said. Okay, so the first name that came off the top of your head. Why would the social justice warriors in the media not gnash their teeth at that particular name?
Well, Marco Rubio, number one, he's of Cuban descent, so he's a person of color. He's Hispanic, and on top of that, he had very, very right-wing positions, but I think that his positions would have been portrayed as what they are, right? And, you know, like Ted Cruz, of course, would have probably gotten lots and lots of crap about being a climate change denier and stuff like that, right? Because he is. But they would have focused on very, very certain things. But it seemed to be, and they would, you know, like they would cover these guys fairly, right? There was something about Trump that I think the media absolutely detested, and the establishment absolutely detested, and the fact that, you know, half the freaking Republican Party just said, yeah, I don't want to fucking touch this guy. You know, like George W. Bush said he wasn't going to vote for Trump. You know, like it wasn't going to either wasn't going to vote for Clinton. Right, like the list of names of, you know, former first ladies, former presidents, former chiefs of staff, former, you know, the whole bit, right, in the Republican Party, right, who essentially said, I'm either going to vote for Clinton or I'm not going to vote at all because I refuse to vote for Trump. It's astounding, right? And so I think the entire establishment hates him. Right, and needed to smear him every way possible in order to keep him from winning, and I think that there's a reason for that, and I don't think I don't think it's because any of them really believe he's literally Hitler.
And yet we have this individual, the Republican establishment, which is very much it has that conservative Christian family values contingent that would make homosexuality illegal. They don't want to just make it gay marriage legal. They probably want to make it all illegal. And Trump is not part of that. And yet we have this weepy social justice warrior so upset over the fact that their Republican candidate did not run, and it pissed the Republican establishment off, and did not run on that kind of, did she really think there would have been a Republican candidate that didn't run on trying to repeal the marriage equality?
Well, I mean, what gets me too, right, is like, I send her a clip from his RNC nomination acceptance speech, right, where he essentially said, you know, and I pledge to protect our LGBTQ Americans from, you know, I think he said a dangerous foreign ideology, right? And he was referencing the Orlando shootings, right? 50 fucking LGBTQ people shot by what rumor has it is a closeted gay Muslim guy who absolutely could not tolerate his own feelings while living in a society that, you know, resolve the conflict between his religion and who he is, and then living in this decadent society where, you know, guys are kissing on the street and shit, right? He got applause, massive applause and cheers from a crowd of Republicans, right? A huge crowd of Republicans. And he said, and it just makes me so happy. You cheered when I said that, right? Like, this is a guy who's been, he's been supporting the idea of including LGBTQ status in the 1964 Civil Rights Act since 2000. That's something that didn't happen until last year, right? 2015 was when they were finally included, right? So, you have to realize that he's pulling the entire Republican Party into a more middle space, right? Where they, if he does well, for the the next 4 or maybe 8 years, right? The Republican Party's never really going to be able to go back to a platform where banning same-sex marriage, banning same-sex adoption, banning all kinds of anything to do with being able to live openly gay, where that's going to be actually an official plank on their platform. I don't think that they're going to be able to actually get back to that place after this, if he does well.
Because Trump won based not on he won based on a contingent of voters who got out of their seats and voted, and they voted in part because of the media backlash, and they were tired of the media, but also because of his fiscal conservative stance, but also because he was not a family values platform. If these new Republicans caught whiff of some posturing blowhard in a penguin suit, they would run. And the Republican Party has got to know that now. So what this person is weeping about is it either speaks to the hypocrisy of the social justice warrior position. They really are just about hollow, empty, platitudes that really have nothing to do, and partisanship that has absolutely nothing to do with the issues, or there's some fucked up thing going on here, a deeper thing that's going on, because they can't possibly be that upset over someone who's a centrist who's dragging the Republican Party to the left morally. I mean, think about it. Like, in a practical sense, Trump is consolidating the left's moral gains in terms of LGBTQ rights. He's not like it just seems like so much fucking energy over something that is, in some ways, if you look at it from the moral landscape, it is actually a win for the left. It's a win for those kind, and a lot of people listening to me would be like, well, yeah, we want a fiscally conservative, morally like fiscally conservative, socially liberal candidate. We don't want to have to deal with the stuffed penguin suit guys, preaching and pontificating and telling us we can't have our games and pornography. We don't want to have to deal with those idiots. We want a fiscally conservative, socially liberal candidate. And now we've got one in Trump.
Yeah, who's going to respect the Constitution as well.
Yeah. So it's like, for her to be so upset when we're talking about someone who's not going to threaten the gains made in terms of personal liberty for so-called oppressed and disadvantaged groups, and turning the U.S.'s immigration policy, making it more like Canada's in its strictness, is not going to fucking oppress or cause genocide to anyone. Do you really think that we're having a genocide in Canada? No.
No.
So it's like,
our immigration system makes some mistakes that you can argue make people's lives more difficult, right? But nobody has, there are 330 million or whatever people in the U.S. Citizens, 300 million or so U.S. citizens. There's like 7 point however many billion people who are not, and none of those people have a constitutional right to live in the U.S. to even be in the U.S. They don't have a constitutional right to do that. That's the whole point of having countries and borders, So, and it's not like It's not like sort of that the free borders between Switzerland and France and Liechtenstein, and where everybody's lifestyles are fairly similar, and everybody's economies are fairly similar and all about as strong as each other and all of that. No, this is like, it's a little different, right? When you have a country that is not quite first world right on your doorstep. Like Canada doesn't even appreciate necessarily the situation that the U.S. is in with illegal immigration from Mexico, and from further in South America, South and Central America, right? So we just don't have any idea. We just don't have anything near us like that, right? So.
Yep. Okay, let's continue.
By the election cycle, things do look bleak. Millions of us, myself included, could lose our health insurance. There could be serious cuts to scientific research, to climate change and clean energy efforts, to government programs for our sick and our poor, to education. Planned Parenthood will be target number one. My LGBT family now lives under a vice president.
Why would it be target number one?
Well, because he says he doesn't like abortion. He's a pro-lifer, and okay, but he's also like, how to overturn Roe v. Wade, because any abortion that happened right now in the States are happening despite Roe v. Wade, right? Roe v. Wade doesn't necessarily mean abortions for everyone whenever they want them, at any stage of a pregnancy, however they like them, right? That's not what Roe v. Wade means, right? So all these restrictions on abortion that are already in place are occurring even though Roe v. Wade is in place. And if you want to say, oh, he's going to try and ban abortion, it's not going to happen. Roe v. Wade has to be overturned. The only two ways that can happen is through a constitutional amendment with 3/4 of the states all voting in favor of it, right? Which would mean that they would have to actually say that abortion is not constitutional. It is against another constitutional right or whatever, right? Or it would have to be subjected to a long process of being challenged. And, it's got 40 years of precedent behind it. It's had pro-life judges vote against striking it down several times in the past, because the weight of the precedent behind it supersedes their own views, right? The weight of the precedent and the interpretation of the law, and the fact that they have to interpret the law in part based on that precedent, means that their personal feelings don't weigh as much in that decision as maybe they would like. And so pro-life judges have, in fact, on numerous occasions, voted against striking down Roe v. Wade. Now, even if somebody launched a challenge right now to Roe v. Wade, right? It could take 4 fucking years to wind its way to a decision, right? At which point, maybe we'll have the next freaking Democrat in office in the presidency, right? And it's not like Trump can make a constitutional challenge, or a challenge to Roe v. Wade even happen. It's like he can't bring a case himself against, asking the Supreme Court to reverse its decision and all of its decisions since Roe v. Wade pertaining to abortion. People think, does she really think that the office of the president, right? She never took a civics class. She does not understand the limitations on presidential power. He does not have executive authority to just say, well, the Supreme Court decision on Roe v. Wade, that's just gone. I'm just going to wave my hand and it's going to go away, right? Really, does she think that's going to happen? No. The worst thing that's going to happen is women are going to have to start paying for their own fucking abortions, right? Boo fucking who?
Yeah. And still men don't have the freedom to
reproductive rights at all.
Yeah. But this will be considered taking away women's reproductive rights, supposedly, or limiting them, is going to be framed as giving men
not paying for them, not having taxpayer pay for their reproductive rights, for the ability to exercise their reproductive rights in such a way that it is as cheap, easy, and convenient as a haircut.
Yeah, and that's going to be framed as men, or that's going to be framed as patriarchy or benefiting men somehow, even though it's pretty much a neutral for men, I think. Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I mean, I guess it's not a neutral if like he has to chip in for the abortion, or it's not a neutral if, you know, she could have gotten an abortion and she wanted one and didn't because, you know, it was too expensive or something, and now he's saddled with a kid. But you know, I'm thinking that
these are sort of things that happen after her choice. So
yes, all of these things happen after her choice.
So whatever he still abides by whatever her choice is. Okay, I'm gonna continue.
President who literally believes in electrocuting the gay out of children. President Trump openly admits.
Okay, well, I mean, his president, yeah, and you should sort of take a leaf from this, because that is the vice president now, and Trump is the president, and it probably, Pence was a concession to the more family values, more authoritarian family values contingent of the Republican Party. But
much,
you're not recognizing that before, Pence would have been the president, not the vice president.
Mm-hmm.
You're not recognizing the and I just wonder if this is I know this is, people are gonna be like, oh my God, conspiracy, but this feels such like a reverse psychology, because I don't know how the left could have lost the presidency any better than this without is there a way that the left could have lost the presidency any better than this way?
With less to complain about?
Yeah, with less legitimate shit to complain about. Could they have lost any better? And the answer to that is no. They could not have lost.
Evangelical, you know, he's you can guarantee you that he's pro-life, and he's definitely not preferable to Trump in terms of like what these concerns are, right? None of them were. Right? Trump was the most centrist candidate. Trump is the one who's pulling everybody kicking and screaming, all of these. And yeah, Pence was probably a concession on his part. And so I would consider that, you know, all of these people who are, you know, saying, oh, Trump should be assassinated. Well, you know,
Pence.
Yeah, think about who'd be in office.
Further, again, I posit to anybody who's listening, could the left have lost any better? Now, we presumably have a two-party system, right? So the only way they could have lost better than Trump would have been to have won the election with Hillary. So, and if we're going to pretend that we have a two-party system, at some point the left has to lose. Otherwise, the credibility of the entire political infrastructure of the US goes down the toilet. So if you want to continue to have the moral high ground, Laci, and continue to march society to your drum, at some point you have to have some kind of evidence that that people have a say in their political system. Otherwise, they will rebel. So you have to have a loss, and this is just about the best loss that the left could have ever asked for, and yet you're making it out like it's this horrible thing, and I just cannot. I hate the feeling of being played here.
Well, but he's just so rude.
Yeah, but he's a troll. Big deal. I get the distinct.
Grab him by the pussy.
I get the distinct impression that I'm being played, and it really infuriates me. And I can't pin it down, and everybody's thinking that I'm like being depressing. But like I said, could the left have lost better than Trump? Than this situation? Yeah. Okay, moving on.
Mm-hmm.
It's to sexual assault and is on trial for child rape. He is proudly endorsed.
No, he is not. No, he is not.
When did a trial become a fucking conviction, even if he was?
No, but he was not on trial for child rape. A lawsuit by someone who was apparently then 13 was filed against him, suing him for monetary damages for a rape that she claimed occurred when she was 13. And then she dropped it. And then she launched it again. And then she dropped it again. And then she launched it again. And then she dropped it again. And then he was elected. And I believe it was the Telegraph, might have been the Daily Mail, said that they had actually been in contact with someone who wants to remain anonymous, but who they can confirm was in the lawsuit, who essentially says that she made the entire thing up. And she's a lifelong drug addict and mentally ill and all kinds of problems. So,
okay, let's go to the next part.
By the KKK, North Korea, Putin, for real? Are we in the upside?
Wait, how did Putin get in? Okay, I think we missed something.
The KKK, North Korea, and Putin. So, an organization that has like 9,000 members nationwide prefer Trump to Hillary Clinton. Oh my God, the racists, right?
Yeah, but
who want a white America, or at least an America for people born in America, prefer Trump to Clinton. Oh my God, what a shocker, right? I don't care how, like, yeah, okay, so, and Hitler fucking wiped his ass with toilet paper. Oh my God, I am literally Hitler. Because I used to wipe my ass with toilet paper, right? Like, this is just, it's so infuriating. You cannot control who supports you, right? You just can't.
North Korea,
the border guards, the people who patrol the fucking border support him too.
North Korea, Putin, for real? Are we in the upside down right now? Because that's what it feels like.
I don't know.
Did this happen?
I think I would really like a Russian president who likes the leader of the free world, who gets along with the leader of the free world. Like, listen to what you're saying, okay? Now, North Korea is a fucking problem. North Korea is going to be a constant fucking problem because they are insane. They are living in the upside down, okay? Shit, who North Korea endorses as the next president of the United States, okay? Even though I bet you fucking Trump would nuke North Korea before Clinton would, okay? Somehow North Korea likes Trump better than Clinton. But Putin, right? You are operating on this idea that Russia is our permanent enemy, that there can never be any kind of peace made. And please, may I remind you, Laci Green, it was Reagan who convinced the Soviet Union to give up communism, to bring in glasnost and perestroika and all of that stuff. It was between Ronald Reagan and who was it, Gorbachev?
Yes, I believe so.
That was a wonderful thing. That Ronald Reagan didn't say, oh my God, Gorbachev gets along with me. That's like the wrong thing to have happen. I don't want to be associated with that guy.
Okay.
Like, do you not want peace between two nuclear powers? Like, what the fuck?
Foremost, because we let it happen. And that's like the hard part to swallow. But also, from where I'm sitting, our political establishment failed us. Lies and corruption in Washington warmed people to a candidate that is completely unqualified and has no experience. And even more.
Okay. This
she's
is
right. No, but she's right.
No, she is right. But she's saying the establishment is corrupt. And now we have a candidate who has no experience. And that's bad, right? A candidate who has not
hasn't been corrupted yet.
20 or 30 years becoming corrupted within the system.
Yeah, the logic is a little confusing. Let's continue.
More overtly. People say that racism and sexism are over. No. They're not over. They are.
Jesus, that was a fucked up expression there for a second.
They're not over. Okay, racism and sexism are not over, but the racism you're talking about and the sexism that you're talking about are no longer institutionalized.
Never were.
Well, no, the racism that she's talking about was certainly, Jim Crow laws existed. There was that thing, that a black person is 3/5 of a white person and all of that stuff. There were those things that existed, and then there was the hangover from those things that lingered for a while. And the KKK was, not something that you would be embarrassed to admit you were a member of in polite company for quite a while, right? Like, those things did exist institutionally and systemically, right? They do not exist institutionally and systemically anymore. They exist socially in all of the institutions and the systems of government, school, everything, right? The prejudices, the biases are on ink and paper, running in the opposite direction from what she believes, right? So we have affirmative action for blacks, we have affirmative action for Hispanics, we have affirmative action for women, right? We have Asians and whites taking point penalties when they take their SATs. They start with a handicap, right? And blacks and Hispanics get a boost. Oh, and Jews too, they get a handicap, right? So we've got these identity groups that are being boosted up by the system, right? They're being helped more than others by the system. That is institutional, that is systemic, that is in many cases legal. When someone commits a crime in Canada, you have to take into account whether they suffered some systemic disadvantage due to their race or whatever when they were growing up, and that needs to be treated as a mitigating factor when they take in all the mitigating and aggravating factors into account in terms of sentencing, right? So these are all things that have been put in order to combat social biases and psychological biases and stuff like that, right? All of the systemic and all of the institutional biases run in the opposite direction to correct what she's talking about. And what she is talking about has been on the decline, at least in terms of sexism against women and racism against people of color. Those have all been on the decline for 50 years, more than that, right?
Well, I would caution really saying those two things in the same breath, because to be honest, all of the corrections that they're doing to help so-called minorities, let me just point it.
They
really
cause
simply.
harm. They don't help them.
The black, for example, just to use one group, black women get welfare. What do black men get? They get prison, and they get 10 cents an hour wage in prison, essentially slave labor. So the racism and women's issues, this is not, they are not connected. And if you ever notice that the socialism is really mainly goes only towards women. Women get welfare, men get the bill, or they get prison, so they can become so they can be sold for whatever. Because prisoners have a value to their head. Their incarceration gives them a monetary value, and so they're worth something as essentially slaves. So as the liberal agenda proceeds, it really doesn't. Unless you're going to exclude black men from the category of black, which actually liberals or the regressive left is trying to do, just like it's excluding gay men from the category of gay somehow. When you try to exclude the male half, I guess you could say that racial issues and women's issues are the same, because you don't recognize the issues of men in that race, and this is not like the two, like racial issues and women's issues are not synonymous. There isn't really a connection between them, and we need to stop allowing people like Laci to draw a connection where there isn't one.
Agreed. Sexism and tribalism are two totally different beasts.
Yeah. The thing is that when women were so-called disadvantaged, they also had advantages and privileges and lack of responsibilities that could be considered privileges. Like when women and protections, when, for example, women couldn't vote, they also weren't expected to be conscripted in the army. And if you look at conscription, there's no difference between conscription and slavery. Even if conscripts get paid, there were slaves who got paid for their work, but they still had no choice about how they worked, what they worked, or who took part of their income. So it's like conscription is state slavery. So men got the right to vote in exchange for being a state slave, and women got the right to vote in exchange for nothing, no additional responsibilities. Certainly not the same suite of responsibilities that male citizens had. This is a completely different outcome than what happened with minorities and poor men. They had to first allow themselves to become state slaves before they were even considered for having a say in the state. It's a completely different trajectory than what was the situation for women. And it's so fucking different that the men in charge, the devil white man, gave women a superior legal position to that of themselves. They, after considerable fight, they gave poor and minority men an equal legal position. They gave women a superior legal position. So none of women's entitlements, none of women's privileges, none of women's exemptions were touched, but they were given the right to vote. And you know what? If you look at the history of the vote, which it's finally coming out, men didn't give women the vote when men decided to give women the vote. Men gave women the vote when women decided to accept it, that they would accept it. And they would only accept it if they kept their privileges intact. You fucking tell me that's the same goddamn situation as poor and minority men who had to fight in wars before they were even considered for the same citizenship privileges. And they didn't have huge bodies, huge organizations opposing their own vote because they were afraid to lose privileges that they didn't have. You didn't see colored people against the colored vote organizations that were eclipsed in size, the groups that were trying to get the ability to vote for Black people. You didn't see shit like that. And that you didn't see shit like that because there were no privileges that Black citizens had that white citizens didn't have that might be threatened by Black citizens having the right to vote. Whereas there were privileges that female citizens, or even whatever class they occupied, there were privileges that they had that might be threatened by equality with male citizens. And they knew it. So they had huge bodies, huge groups opposed to equality with men because they didn't want to lose their fucking privileges. All right. Shall we continue?
Yep.
I wonder how many people I lost in that.
Are very much a part of our social fabric. Trump saw that. He saw the undercurrent of misogyny and racism, and he wrote.
Okay, you first started out with this statement saying that people were upset with the corruption in government, and government failed you because it was corrupt. So it allowed this anti-establishment care. And now you've gone on to the undercurrents of misogyny and racism.
Because they cannot believe that Trump is not a misogynist and not a racist. They've been told it too many times. You repeat, and I'm not even saying he's not a sexist and not a racist. I think that most people have sexist views. Most people have tribalistic views to one degree or another. They have biases and they have different ways of viewing people from their own group versus people from a different group, and they have different ways of viewing men and women, right? But she cannot let go of this idea that he is literally the Hitler to end all Hitlers of sexism and racism, right? Like that, and this is, and she has not, she said, okay, the media, the establishment, the corruption in the establishment led to this. Right? When it was the establishment that told her all through the election that Trump is a misogynist and Trump is a racist, right? Not just as sexist and racist as any normal person you'd pass on the street, but you know, the end all and the be all and end all of sexism and racism is Donald Trump. The same establishment she just said was corrupt, right, is what told her this. And somehow she's prepared to believe them when they tell her these things about him.
It beggars the imagination. All right, let's continue. We are getting further ahead, so that's good.
That wave to electoral college victory. Without a doubt, Trump gave a voice to unspeakable darkness.
We're in Mordor now.
Unspeakable darkness. Yeah. Like, I guess you and me, Karen, we're unspeakable fucking darkness.
Ash, Nazg, Zerbatuluk. Ash, Nazg, Timbatul.
Oh, fuck.
You know what?
All right.
We don't have to listen to it. If you, my dear internet friends, somewhere out there in the world are hurting today, I have 4 reminders for you. It's okay to feel angry or sad or confused. Your feelings are valid too. You are loved, you matter, and you're right.
Your feelings exist.
They're not necessarily valid.
They are not necessarily valid. Sometimes an adult has to enter into the room and inform you that your feelings have nothing to do with reality. That even if Trump was bad a guy as you think he is, the number of things he can fuck up, right? The way you think, the number of things that you think he's going to do, that he would even be able to do in 4 years as president, is actually not that much. So, and then you can...
Yeah, this just, yeah. Oh, I love how she looks a little scruffy. Like she's had a crying jag, except her makeup is perfect. Just saying. All right, just like the sheer mendacity of this, though. I mean, like I said, the left couldn't have lost worse than with Trump, with forcing the Republican Party to move more left in terms of it. Yeah, in terms of its support. It couldn't have lost better. It could not have lost better. And yet they are freaking the fuck out, and they're being encouraged and freaking the fuck out and regarding it as a loss by all of their leaders. Interesting. And we're being encouraged to regard it as a win and ignore the fact that this is probably the best loss that they could have possibly imagined.
Well, I actually, like, part of the reason why I like Trump is because he's pretty moderate on most of his positions.
Yeah, I know. And I like, the thing is that forcing the Republican Party to become more socially liberal but fiscally conservative appeals to the libertarian in me as well. Yeah. However, there's meat hook realities here. And the meat hook reality is when you do not have a moral rallying cry to oppose the left's moral rallying cry, then theirs reigns supreme.
There you go.
So, and like, I don't want it to be authoritarian family values either. But then the real question is, well, we got to do something about this.
Yeah. What's the moral rallying cry? Like, drain the swamp, right? I mean, like, there was, like, what were the chants, the people chanting at his rallies? Build the wall, right? Okay, so fix immigration, right? Drain the swamp, get rid of establishment corruption in politics, and jail her or whatever.
Jail Hillary, which I don't think is going to happen.
You know what? I think we're going to have to wait and see. He's essentially tabled that for the future. He's just like, oh, I'm not in any hurry. Well, of course he's not, because until January 20th, Obama can still pardon her. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not going to jump on any of that until, he knows because if he does, Obama's just going to pardon her.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's move a little bit into this.
rights will be defended. That is a personal promise. 3, remember that if it were up to young people, last night would have been a landslide in the other direction. So don't lose hope. There's tremendous
When it
good.
comes to all of the people, when it comes to all of the people who have no life experience, who have never really struggled, who have always had parents who were not in a fucking nursing home that they could move back in with when, you know, Starbucks, their boss at Starbucks pissed them off and they walked off the job, right? Who've you know, like young people who have not had children, they don't have to think ahead, right? Like, okay, yeah, you Laci, you have no fucking kids. You're like, why shouldn't people pay for my abortions, right? Why shouldn't the taxpayer pay for my fucking birth control and my abortions and all of this stuff? And I'm saying, okay, except for, you know what? It's not even my children that are going to be paying for that at this point. It's their children, if they can afford to have any. Because, see, we've gone so far beyond what we can afford to provide people in terms of services like free abortions and free birth control pills and free IUDs and free fucking pap smears and free this and free that and free everything. None of it actually being free, right? And getting involved in foreign wars that cost trillions of fucking dollars just so we can tinker with the Middle East and see what we can fuck up today and who we can get mad enough to fly a fucking plane into a building, right? Yeah, no. They're going to be paying the debt for that, okay, for what we've already done. And their kids paying the debt for what we have already done.
Okay, can I just, I don't know what they're...
You don't fucking have kids, bitch.
All right,
Okay.
so I'm just going to put something out there. What an incredible position of entitlement to be discussing the free things you should be getting from the government. I'm just like, it's to be in a position where the government could be handing you out shit. That's amazing, because throughout all of human history, there are only certain classes of people that got free shit from the government. And generally, they weren't the classes that were producing the resources. Just, I'm putting it out there. Okay.
I'm just putting it out there that honestly, you know, if we actually scaled down to, you know, what the ancient Romans thought were was the purview of government, which would be, you know, infrastructure,
roads, aqueducts, public sanitation,
trade, sanitation, infrastructure, public health, and national defense, right? And maybe expanding empire. I guess they did that too. But, you know, and then you had the people, you know, that they conquered bitching about, you know, those Romans are sure evil. I mean, I like the roads and stuff, and the schools are pretty cool.
Do you want to know what they charged? The people that they brought roads to and public order, because public order was a huge fucking deal. Like that. Oh yeah. There was constant raiding, and the Romans, for whatever reason, had a particular antipathy towards pirates and brigands. Yeah. So they would come in and they would make sure that your supply routes weren't raided, and your wife and daughter weren't raped in a fucking raid, and you weren't raped in a raid usually too, and then you didn't get your farms burnt down. And what they charged for that, and what we right now in history look back and we're, oh my God, those Romans were such tyrants. They charge 5%. Like a gross domestic project, you know, 5%. And if they routed out the brigands and they managed to get in to recover a lot of the stolen goods and whatever else, they would usually reduce that 5% down by whatever they managed to recover, as is, I guess you would call it booty or whatever they seized. Yeah, whatever they seized in war, they would reduce that from their vassal states. That 5%, and we consider them to be freaking tyrants. I mean, they probably were pretty brutal people, but 5%, hey.
Yeah, well, and you look at too. Like my dad came over from Denmark in was it the 1950s? late 50s, early 60s, right? His tax return, well, it wasn't a tax return because you just calculated your taxes and then you paid them. Your employer didn't collect them from you. You had to save up and pay them at the end of the year. But his tax form was one side page. That was, he showed it to me, right? The first time I did my taxes as an adult with a job, right? He went down to the file cabinet because he keeps everything forever. And he got out the first ever tax return or tax form he filled out, income tax, he filled out when he came to Canada. And it was one side of one page. It was not small print. And it was super easy to calculate. And it was very, very little that he paid compared to his income, right? And then I looked at my fucking novel, you know, my choose your own adventure novel of a tax return form, right? That I have to fill out all of this shit. And, you know, and I have to wonder, is the government any better off? You know, because they have to pay people to fucking cook this shit up, and then they have to pay people to make sure you're paying the right amount and check all your freaking, you know, plus signs and minus signs and T's and I's dotted and all of that, right? Like, would the IRS be like 1/10 the size and cost if everybody's tax form was just one side of one page?
Well, here's the thing. All right, in the stream I did with Teal Deer a week ago or a week and a half ago, we sort of came on a realization. Feminism essentially creates is the schema, the moral schema in which societies are judged by how much liberty they can afford women. And liberty is basically it's an intangible resource. So when we decide that we want to afford women liberty, and that's how we judge social progress, we're in an eternal state of trying to find new liberties to afford women. Otherwise we stagnate and we get, I don't know, we just stagnate. We are no longer experiencing any progress towards whatever fucked up utopia we'll get when women have ultimate freedom. What Laci is talking about is having a complete freedom of choice as a woman, complete freedom of choice, which other people have to pay for. So she's talking, and this entire conception is taking real tangible resources, because these freedoms that you want, somebody has to pay for them eventually. Real tangible resources, and sacrificing them in pursuit of a complete untangible and we can never possibly obtain a universe in which women have complete and utter freedom. Especially since we're always finding new ways that women are in chains.
Oh yeah, no, you look at that thing I did in New Hampshire with Naomi Wolf, right? In the question and answer session, somebody, challenged her, and she says, "Don't you want your daughter to be free from rape?" And I'm like, "Free? What the fuck does that even mean? Free from rape, right? Like that? Okay, what are you gonna do? Chop every man's dick off in the entire country, and then she'll be, oh wait, but then we're gonna have to get rid of all the broom handles, and we're gonna have to get rid of all the dildos, and we're gonna have to get rid of anything that could be used to rape a woman with, right? Because there's no way that you can be free from rape, right? Like it's a thing that happens, and it's not going to, you're never going to be able to completely eliminate crime. You're never going to be able to completely eliminate rape, right? So in order to be free from rape, you would have to have society on complete and total lockdown. And it's just how, and she's saying this at a libertarian conference, right? A convention. And they're like, I don't think that that's compatible with libertarian values, to organize society from the top down in such a way that, you know, my daughter, that there will be zero chance in her lifetime that she will ever be raped. Like, how does that even happen?
Yeah.
Like, so.
Yeah, but that's the thing. She wants to be complete. This approach is complete, judging social progress by the complete liberty of women. Well, we could destroy our entire society and economy trying to liberate this particular woman from everything, including the negative consequences of her own choices.
Yeah, including having to pay for the bus ride to go to the abortion clinic, because that's the new thing. Now that the abortions are free, right? They have to be they have to be like really quick, really easy, on demand, and transportation to and from has to be covered too, because otherwise then it's not really a free choice. There's a little bit of inconvenience there, and so it's not totally free. It costs a little bit of time and money.
Not just abortion, but any possible choice that she can make, any possible negative outcome, she has to be free to be able to make every single, and this is the Charles Fourier's formulation. This is what feminism is based on, judging society by granting women as much liberty as humanly possible. Unfortunately, liberty is something that's intangible, and you can always conceive of new lacks of liberty, new places where women are not free, because they live in a world of like constraints.
We need to make them free from mansplaining, and free from man-interrupting, and free from man-spreading, and free from being catcalled,
and free from masculized sperm,
and free from not being catcalled. And because some women like being catcalled, so we have to take their wishes into account.
And ironically, this is an extension of that traditional value of granting women resources. I mean, you look throughout all of family values, it's really about morally and legally making sure that an individual man provides an individual woman resources. This is just exactly the same thing, except it's now class man has to provide class women resources, and those resources are a fucking abstraction. And the gross domestic product of the US could be equal to whatever the gross domestic product of an entire universe would be. And still, we could find another liberty to grant women. We could still find another universe's worth, another galaxy's worth of gross domestic product to pay for another liberty that women absolutely must have.
They must feel welcome in STEM. It's not enough that they are allowed in STEM. It's not enough that they are invited into STEM. It's not enough that they have affirmative action in STEM. No. They also have to be made to feel welcome by the people already in STEM. And if they aren't, then you have to impose rules, and you have to, this is like, it is never ending. It's never fucking
ending. You could look at your STEM example. I mean, STEM is a meritocracy. And women are obviously, if the possibility of failure there, then they don't get the freedom of knowing that they've succeeded. So you have to take away the possibility of failure in a STEM field, in the meritocracy, because women should have the freedom to graduate with a STEM degree without ever feeling like they were threatened by any kind of competition, any kind of potential failure, because that is oppression of women. And it's like never fucking ending. We could be a million years in the future with an entire galaxy's worth of GDP at our disposal to throw down the smug hole that is on the screen right now, and they could find another galaxy's worth of this vague concept of freedom that we need to throw down the hole. Another galaxy's worth of resources, because it's never fucking ending. All right.
Okay, moving on.
And 4. Once the shock of this all wears off, anger and resentment may set in, like some people we know. But we can't do it that way. We gotta do it.
Wait. So that was like a Hillary rally, and somebody in the audience yelled, "Fuck you, Hillary." That's just so hateful, right? So unbelievable. It's totally not. It's totally way worse than like the two little Hispanic girls, 13 and 9, who got pepper sprayed by anti-Trump protesters while they were outside a Trump rally in San Diego, I believe it was. along with 4 other people, I believe. It's like totally not hateful, like people who got up and screamed at Trump rallies and were calmly escorted out. Sometimes they were, but you watched a lot of the stuff with anti-Trump protesters. You saw a lot of that. You saw Lauren Southern getting freaking assaulted by that trans something or other. I don't know.
It's
at that free speech rally at University of Toronto, right?
All that they did, but let's look at this on its face. If this was it, Laci, and I'm sure that you bought the worst of it, fuck you, you're a bitch. So what? So fucking what? Like, what do you expect a politician? If you're doing anything, you're going to get so much hate thrown at you. And then you've already said that the establishment was corrupt, and Hillary represented the establishment. So a bunch of people called her up, a corrupt politician, told this corrupt politician to fuck themselves and that they were a bad word. This is a non-issue. Moving on.
We have to use you're to help each other whenever you're ready, and you have a right to take some time. But when you get there, get ready to be vocal, get ready to get involved. Please be proactive. I want to ask you guys to think about
what the hell are you going to be proactive about?
Notice how she didn't say, she said, please be vocal, please be involved, please be proactive, right? All very good, okay? But she didn't say, please be rational, please be peaceful, please be nonviolent.
I just don't understand what the purpose is. What do you think you're going to accomplish?
Well, honestly, there is a need to hold politicians' feet to the fire. Absolutely 100%.
Is that what these people are going to do?
No, they're going to freaking
protest Trump, basically.
They're going to pull an old guy out of his fucking car, beat the shit out of him, and steal his car, all while yelling, "You voted for Trump, you voted for Trump, yo." They're going to burn things, and they're going to march.
Essentially going to brown shirt.
Yeah, and then they're going to burn more stuff, and then they're going to burn Trump in effigy, and then there's going to be some shootings. I think there were some shootings in Portland, if I recall. And stuff like that. Stuff like that is going to happen because of all this absolute hysteria that was whipped up by the mainstream media regarding Trump. And and this is really what gets me, right? Because I like Trump, okay? And I'm not particularly impressed with Trudeau, okay? I think he's mostly a moron, but I don't hate him. I don't think he's evil. I don't think he's a bad person. I don't think he's horrible. I don't think he's going to bring about World War III, right? I really don't. This is the difference between what someone like me, who really did not want a Trudeau government in Canada, absolutely thinks it will not be good for the country, right? But I don't see him as the devil. Right. And these people who are protesting right now, all of these people like Laci Green, they have been convinced by the media that Trump is the devil. Right. And it's he's probably not perfect. Almost guaranteed. Right. But he's not the fucking devil. And even if he's the devil, there's only so much he can fuck up in 4 years with the limitations and the separation of powers and all of that in government. And you can say, oh, he has the House and he has the freaking Senate. Yeah, no, he doesn't, because the Republican establishment hate him.
Okay, let me ask you something. These are brown shirts. They're going out and they're going to try to make it as uncomfortable as possible for anyone to have voted Trump. And yet this is there's no way the left could have lost better than this outcome. So what is going to happen? Would they even tolerate any kind of Republican win ever?
Well,
Like,
yeah, they would, because it'd be a Republican that they know, right? And they know Republican positions, right? It would be a Republican that they know, and they would be like, oh, we're just going to have 4 years and they're not going to get anything done because they're not like literally Hitler. Trump is literally Hitler, and it's the media that's largely been responsible for convincing them of that, right? Like, and this is really, and he's such a woman hater because he called Hillary Clinton a nasty, nasty woman, right? And like, this is really what, and it's not just
one question.
it's not just the Republican Democrat thing. It is the last 10 years or so, and I would recommend anybody who's interested in any of this to go and read or watch videos, talks by Jonathan Haidt. It is the last 10 years or so of a complete shift in the type of politics among young people that is like, this happened within a broader context of students surrounding and screaming at a official school faculty member over Halloween costumes and cultural appropriation, right? So, like, and screaming at him that you're not supposed to be building an intellectual space here. It's about making a home here, right? So this is the broader context of young people that this whole presidential election has been played out on, right? Black Lives Matter and all of this other stuff, right? So it isn't just the most contentious, the most polarizing presidential election in terms of how people felt and how much they liked or hated the candidates, but it's also an undercurrent within society that is increasingly polarized and is increasingly fragmented and increasingly likely to cast blame and scapegoat and all of those things, right? So acute malicious intent, even where it doesn't exist. So, like this is why, like, I don't know, maybe Marco Rubio would have led to the same thing. Maybe he would have, but I doubt it, because I don't think that the press would have demonized him the way that they demonized Trump.
And I just can't help but think they couldn't have lost better, and yet they're just bitching and bitching and bitching, and nothing will satisfy them except one party government for the rest of time.
Oh no, and they want to abolish the Electoral College, right? Because Hillary won the popular vote, and that has happened in the past. It's happened. It happens in any system where you have first past the post. Of any form whatsoever. So in British Columbia years and years ago, the NDP got a majority government, even though the provincial Liberals got the popular vote, and they got the most votes of any party in any election up to that point in the entire history of British Columbia, right? So this is, so essentially you had, in every single riding where the Liberals won, they won in a landslide, and in every single riding where they lost in a squeaker, right? And that meant that NDP took a majority government. So essentially, they want to get rid of the Electoral College. The Electoral College is there for a reason. It's there so that California and New York don't dictate to the entire country, so that you don't essentially have what the system in the Hunger Games, where you have wealthy people and the people who support them, the people who clean their houses and paint their portraits and frickin' take their wedding photos and stuff, right? You don't have those groups dictating to the entire rest of the country all of the decisions of government, right? Like, okay, she lost the election and won the popular vote. That's happened in the past, right? But now we have Senator Barbara Boxer introducing a bill that would get rid of the Electoral College. And, because they want to pass legislation that would make this election impossible, right? That Trump got elected and Hillary lost, because they don't want to accept the results. I mean, this is really going super, super far. The Electoral College exists for a fucking reason. It is there for a reason. And you guys would have been perfectly happy if Trump won the popular vote and lost the election, and you would have been pointing and laughing and calling us a bunch of sore losers, or Trump voters a bunch of sore losers, if they introduced a bill, right, to get rid of the Electoral College. It's fucking ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
He got elected under the system that existed.
Last 17 seconds.
Thinking about one question. What can we do to channel pain and anger and resentment into something positive and good for the world, for each other, and for our future, for the next 4 years and beyond?
Okay.
Heal the schism in your society.
Well, I think maybe like becoming more in touch with reality would be good. Like even just maybe investigate a little bit, Steve Bannon, who's Trump's chief advisor right now. He's used to be the CEO of Breitbart, and apparently he's a raging anti-Semite who, like, half of his staff at Breitbart were Jews, and even freaking Ben Shapiro, who's so freaking such a Jewy Jew that he wears a yarmulke every time he leaves the house, just laughed when it was suggested that, and he doesn't even like Steve Bannon. He quit because he didn't like Steve Bannon and was pissed at him, right? But he's like, yeah, no, he's not a fucking anti-Semite, right? But that's the rumor around fucking Washington, is that Steve Bannon's an anti-Semite because his ex-wife said he was during divorce proceedings in a custody battle.
Yeah. It's what would you do to be positive? Heal the schism in your society.
How about this? Why don't we just try, all of us, to apply the most charitable interpretation that we can to even people that we don't like,
or you disagree with? Consider them to be human. And most humans have some basic, beyond eating, shitting and fucking, they do generally want to try to make the world better in their own skewed way. Even Laci, I think.
No, I think so. Everybody's got some redeeming qualities. This is why I'm not mad.
Laci's got two of them.
I don't hate Laci. I honestly, I kind of, just sort of looking at this video, watching it, right? I kind of have this sympathy for her, right? Because I think her emotions regarding this are genuine. I don't think that they're valid. I don't think that she has a reason to feel this way, but I think that she genuinely feels this way. And so I'm willing to give her the benefit of the doubt in terms of that. But I just, like, why, how can, it just, why can't we just try and see other people as human beings?
God damn it, you're such a bitch, Karen. Like, why should I have to see anyone's point of view but my own? You're a total fucking bitch for expecting me to actually entertain other people's opinions and regard them as being human, even though they disagree with me. Because obviously people who disagree with me are not human. Really.
I'm a dog person, Allison. You're a cat person.
I know, we can't. That's it. That's the end. We cannot continue. I can't regard you as human. You're not human, nope. Karen. No. Yeah. You like those fucking festering, floppy-eared idiot on two like retards. They're fucking 4-footed retards.
Okay, but if somebody breaks into my house, my dog will bark. If somebody breaks into your house, your cat will just walk up, rub against his legs, and then try its level best to like stick its anus in the dude's face.
Well, you never know. It could be an anus-fearing, like a burglar who really is terrified of anuses, and that scares him out.
Just like me, whenever a cat jumps on my lap, I just wondering what the proper etiquette is.
Well, regardless, it doesn't. Well, why should I even consider? Why should I even consider your thoughts to be worthy of consideration when you're obviously totally inhuman for preferring dogs? Like I can infer so much about your moral structure from the fact that you like dogs. You like something subservient.
It's a question.
You're an authoritarian who just wants a servant.
My dog doesn't serve me. All she does is annoy me.
She's more like a cat, actually.
Yeah, no, she just clack her toenails and like hack and cough while I'm on the air and stuff.
Yeah, but you can't possibly be human. I can't relate to anything that you're saying. I mean, I can't. I mean, even though I do relate to having an animal that just doesn't fucking listen to you, I just can't accept that there's a humanity there to relate to inside you because you are obviously the devil for liking dogs.
That's right.
I'm just saying. And the only way to solve this is street. It's the law of the street. We gotta go get something lethal and start beating each other to death with it.
Oh, my choice is a board with a nail through it.
I think I'll get a lead pipe. Boards with nails through it are difficult to wield. Anyway, okay, so we're at the end. Let's do a little bit of shilling. We're going to be moving into our after show where we'll be taking patrons' questions and talking, interacting with them about this particular, what the fuck is it, video snippet, Laci's Trumpocalypse, and maybe also talking about some other stuff. Like, for example, how libertarians are responsible for the regressive left and other such extremely contentious topics. All right, very contentious. So if you want to have access to these contentious topics, and apparently last week one of our after shows became public, so a lot of people got to see something that they weren't supposed to see, and they said that it was quite a bit more emotionally charged. I mean, after shows are where me and Karen really take off the gloves and go at it. We're actually being polite right now, but
pretty much.
Yeah, so the after show, if you're interested in seeing them, www.patreon.com. If you're interested, www.patreon.com/honeybadgerradio. That's critical, the Honey Badger Radio part. And if you're interested in taking part, if you become a patron, you can see them. That's content that will become available. If you want to become a higher tier patron, you can take part in the conversation. That is www.patreon.com/honeybadgerradio. And I'm out. Because I'm done with my shill. And
all right.
You don't think I'm immoral for shilling?
No. Yes.
Yes.